I can teach you about persuasion, seduction, or anything else. And I'm not allowed to repeat it. And hello? Hi. You think that you're not listening, but in reality, you're going to buy everything for sale this weekend. Everything for sale as you go by the table. You will buy everything. You think you're not hearing me, but oh, you are hearing me. Every word I say, get your vaginas wetter and wetter, ladies in the audience. This is subliminal seduction at its best. When you give me all your money this weekend and listen to every word I say, that's right. On the unconscious level, everything I say, wetter and harder, harder and wetter and harder together. Hello. Hello. This is cool, isn't it? Hello. Hi. Excuse me. Hi. Sorry for bothering you. I was wondering if maybe you want to go out sometime. Years ago, I had a girlfriend from a country that shall go unnamed, and we were making fun of the PUA artists. I said, you know, we should do something called high flatus seduction. It's about women love men who have high flatus, not high status, but high flatus. Does everyone know what flatus is? Gas, farting. Yes, fart like a caveman and get the women you truly want. Some of the stuff I see out there in the community is absurd to the point where I think, are they joking? I don't mean absurd in a useful sense. I mean, it's just stupid absurd. Like, if I had to wear a fluffy hat and 6-inch heels to get laid, I probably would just do something else. Pretty absurd. So, the most fun thing for me is to see those moments when the lights turn on, and also to do change work with people. I'm happy to do it, and we're going to be doing some of it. But what I want to talk about now, setting all the rest of what I just said, let that settle deep into the back of your mind. And one thing I want to say is to give a series of permissions, because you can listen to every word I say. You can hang on every word I say, and you don't have to. You can find your mind wandering off and missing every word I say. You don't have to. You can pay attention to and hang on every word I say, and you can find your mind wandering off and ignoring every word I say. You can find your mind wandering off, ignoring every word I say, and you can find yourself hanging on to every word I say. Because in the right kind of state for maximum learning, things that normally don't go together can come together in new and interesting combinations. Now, I talked a little bit about hypnosis earlier. And actually, the seeds, the very fabric of our ordinary day-to-day reality is far more hypnotic than you might have realized. For example, you all know how to tell time. If I said, meet me at Covent Garden at 10 a.m., you would understand what that meant. But if you let your mind drift back to when you first learned to read a clock or a watch, I don't know when that was. Maybe you don't know exactly when that was, but I remember looking at a clock and for a long time not getting it, struggling to understand. What do you mean the big hand is on the 12 and the little hand is on the 8? Why doesn't that mean 20? Because 12 plus 8 is 20. That's what they taught me in the last class. I don't understand what that means. And you struggle with it, and you try to get it, and then suddenly, for reasons you don't understand and never will, something flowers up into the conscious mind, and you get it. Oh, I can read a clock now. And from that time forward, you can never again not look at a clock and know what the time is, unless you're really shit-faced drunk. Now, think about that. That was a process where You were shown the example and it was explained to you and you didn't understand and didn't understand. Something was going on in the back of the mind. The back of the mind was processing in its own way. And suddenly there was a moment of understanding. You got it. You understood. And now you don't even think about it. Someone says, meet me at 8 a.m. You don't need to learn how to read your watch every time. You know. But in reality, is there such a thing as 8 a.m.? It's a construct. It's an artificial fabrication that allows humans to have social interaction. And then a watch is a fabrication that's designed to track the original fabrication, that there is such a thing as 8 o'clock. So it's a fabrication about a fabrication. None of it's real, but at the same time, it's all quite important, isn't it? Because without it, you couldn't get anything done. Your ability to tell time and to track time, that's such an important part of your reality, but it was taught to you fundamentally, hypnotically, by an authority figure who told you this is what it means. They never gave you the reason why. Think about it. Everyone here, I hope, can write. You write without having to think about it. But when you were a child trying to figure it out, I remember having the worst time, I'm not kidding, the worst time with my W's and my M's. I did not understand it. Because the M to me, I couldn't understand. I got caught in a loop in my mind. Is the M an upside down W? Or is the W an upside down M? I couldn't get to N-O-P-Q-R-S-T because I was stuck on that. You had to learn to figure it out. You practiced your letters, and then script was very different from print, wasn't it? Wait a minute, I just learned printing. Now why is this thing called handwriting? You had to practice and practice, and yet now it's utterly useless because we have the internet. So many of the things that make up the fabric of our ordinary daily reality, every time someone uses the word reality, I want you to think about that. Because much of what we think is being real is just a social agreement. Sometimes useful, often not. But when you begin to look past that and begin to see the possibility of weaving new threads and looking and noticing what to other people is invisible, noticing what to other people isn't even there because they can't even conceive that it might be there. Noticing responses and knowing how to play with them. These are some things we're going to be demonstrating because they're very powerful skills. People say to me, I don't know what to say to women. I run out of things to say. I say, no. You just ran out of things to be curious about and to observe. So learning to look and observe and listen in a different way. Learning to make friends again with the part of your mind that taught you the basic skills of getting along. That part of your mind has always been there. So I'm going to be playing with that part of your mind a lot. And I invite you to play that way. Play with yourself if you'd like. And I want to talk to you now about the first 20 minutes. What do we do with that first 20 minutes with women? What is the point of that first 20 minutes or so talking to women? Someone's going to say, well, what if it's 15 minutes? Okay, 15 minutes or 25 minutes. I'm talking about that initial period of time. To me, as I think about it, just like this, as I really, really allow yourself to think about it like this. I was on an airplane flying from LA to Phoenix. And I was sitting in the aisle seat, and this very attractive, say she's 28, 29, so pretty old, blonde, athletic girl sits down on the aisle seat across from me. And then this couple comes, and they're kissy face, kissy in love. He sits in the seat next to her, and she sits in the seat She sits in the seat. She sits in the seat. She sits in the seat right next to me. And they are going, I'm going, oh, fuck. I'm not going to take this. So as soon as the plane takes off, I turn to this girl and I say, how would you like to sit next to your boyfriend? She said, that would be great. I said, as soon as they turn off the seatbelt light, I'm going to get Blondie over there to switch places. And by the way, I'm going to get her phone number before the flight's over. She said, how are you going to do that? I said, just trust me. So sure enough, they turn off the seatbelt light. Immediately, I tap her on the shoulder. She's wearing a workout outfit. I say, hey, sporty, let's say we change seats so these two lovebirds can sit next to each other. She said, okay, but I want your aisle seat. I said, no problem, I'll shove over one. So I said, okay, go. So I'm looking over and she's got something from NASA, the space agency, JPL. It's got official, and it's got all sorts of diagrams. And I said, what's that you're working on? She said, oh, I swear. She said, I have a doctorate in aeronautical engineering and I designed satellites. I said, really? She said, yeah, mini satellites. I said, what do you mean? They don't have to have a precise orbit. They just have to do this, this, and this. And I said, oh, that's a vector, isn't it? She said, yeah, how did you know about that? She said she had some arrows. For those of you who are engineers, you know what a vector is? Well, it's very quickly, what's a vector?
It's a trajectory. It's an indication of trajectory.
It's an indication of trajectory, a direction of force. I said, well, I just happen to be an aerospace engineer myself. She said, really? Where did you get your degree? I said, no, Eros, E-R-O-S, aerospace engineer. I'm not making this up. I swear on my cats' lives, and I love my cats. This is true. I said, I teach men how to bridge that gap between themselves and the women who they'd really like to meet. She said, how do you do that? I said, it's all about vectors. I'm not kidding. She said, what do you mean? I said, well, imagine that there's a ball. It's a perfect sphere and it's absolutely empty. There's nothing in it. It's just potential space. It's absolutely clear. And there are 4 vectors that we can put in it. One of them is a direction that takes us towards curiosity about each other. Another one creates comfort between us. Another one is some sexual tension. And the other one is playfulness and fun. So I start off bouncing that ball. There's nothing in it at all. I put in some curiosity. I bounce it over to you. You catch it. You take it. And you know there's that moment when an object lands. There's a moment when it's no longer moving, but it's not quite landed either. You've got it, and you decide what you're going to do with it. You could put some curiosity in. Now we've got double the curiosity. You bounce it back to me. But maybe you put in some tension, or maybe you put in some playfulness. I don't know what you're going to put in there. You bounce it back to me. I add in some sexual tension. You add in some play. And after 20 minutes, that ball has grown so large that now it's filled the space between us, and we both have our hands on it at the same time. And she's progressively going. Now it's filling the space between us. And then, when you decide this is something that's going to happen, suddenly that sphere surrounds and encloses us. So all there is you and I inside this bubble of all of that, those wonderful vectors. She's like, oh look, they've announced, ladies and gentlemen, please, we are about to land. And she said, let me give you my card. So the flight ends and I let her leave. She leaves and I show the card to the girl. She's nice. And actually she wound up, this girl bothering me. She follows me to baggage claim, pestering me with questions. And anyway. So this is a good metaphor, I think, for all you linear thinking men of what I think really does happen in that first 20 minutes. In the first 20 minutes, you're not literally, don't literally go buy a ball, okay? But that's the basic idea, okay? That you're sort of playing a game of catch. Bounce the ball. You start with something and you see how they respond. Based on their response, You add something to it and bounce it back and bounce it back. Do you understand? The aim of that 20 minutes is to engage the other person's attention. People are running around in their own little worlds. You want to pull their attention out, and then you want to begin to play with that attention. That attention is like a clear channel across which you're going to be bouncing that ball. So this means you have to be able to read responses, and then you have, there's no one, do you understand? People say to me, what do you say next? I have to see what her response is. I can give you some general ideas, do you understand? But it's about playing with vibe and playing with responses. Notice the word play, not, you know, those kids who were really angry who played softball, they threw the ball as hard as they could. Like, no, it's a game. It's fun to engage people in this way. You get it? So I believe in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, that's the name of the game, is to play with curiosity, draw out her curiosity, her sense of playfulness and fun. There's got to be some comfort there. And then if you can, in that 20 minutes, create just a little bit of tension, sexual tension. It doesn't have to be a whole hell of a lot in that 20 minutes. So let's start thinking. We'll make a digression and do a little bit of linear thinking. How are we going to do that? First of all, what would be the 2 or 3 things that would get in our way of doing that? What would get in our way of doing that? Let's talk about what we want to remove from the table, what we want to push away. What would get in the way of our doing that?
Our internal process.
Okay, our internal process, but that's too vague. I'm going to give you a C on that. What would get in the way of being able to put in some curiosity, put in some playfulness, put in some comfort, put in some sexual tension? What would get in the way of that? Is this okay? Huh?
Approach anxiety.
Approach anxiety. Okay, somebody else. There's no wrong answers.
Worrying too much about what she thinks.
Worrying too much about what she thinks. What else?
Worried about expecting too much from the interaction.
Expecting too much from the interaction. Okay, what else?
Thinking too much to be kind of...
Thinking too much. Now let's unpack that. Let me unpack that. Just hold on. Let me unpack that just a little bit. What do you mean about thinking about it too much in what way? I'm not quite...
You said earlier the voices, and it's kind of what you're saying, just be curious and almost empty-minded and fun, what you're thinking too
Okay,
much.
so if you're in your head in internal dialogue, you're not going to be able to notice her responses. People talk about social calibration. One of the reasons, guys, not one of the reasons, one of the processes that up until now has prevented many of you from calibrating, from noticing the other person, is you're ratchet in your head. So learning to quiet that down a little bit. I'm going to show you something that will do it. So it's so simple and so easy. A lot of you will do another operating system areas. You'll take something simple and try to complicate it and fuck it up, but I won't let you. Yes, that's very good. A couple more answers. What else would get in the way? Oh, come on. Yes.
Melting the ice?
What?
Melting the ice between the two.
Yeah, what would get in the way of being able to,
Autopilot?
autopilot? What does that mean?
Your responses you're used to all the time, mechanically do.
The responses you're used to all the
Used
time?
to, meeting someone and just go, he's hitting on me again.
Oh, her autopilot responses might stop you. Really? Well, I have a rule. One of my rules is I never take a woman's first response as written in stone. It's almost always a reflection of what she's thinking, feeling, or believing in that moment, and almost always subject to change. By the way, that's a rule for persuading anyone to do anything. Okay, so actually, when people have autopilot, rigid responses, that's an invitation to play with them. I'm going to tell you something. This is actually really, if someone has an automatic response to you, that's great. They're showing you they're inflexible, and once you diffuse that one response, they're done. They got nothing left. It's like a boxer who has a really good left hook, and that's all he knows how to throw. And he's throwing that left hook and throwing that left hook, but it ain't working, then he's done. If you can get, when people have a fixed pattern of responding, hey, I'm Ross. Oh, good. Good man. When people have a fixed pattern of responding, if you interrupt that response, temporarily they don't know where to go and they become susceptible. Actually, autopilot responses are fun. You can learn to play with women's autopilot. So what else would get in the way?
Not listening.
Not listening? What? Yes, not listening would get in the way. What else would get in the way?
People,
Huh?
other people.
No, other people never get in the way. They're either helping me or they're an audience. Remember that one. Someone said to me, God, I have such a problem. I don't mind approaching women when there's no one around, but if there's people watching, I can't take it. I went, what are you talking about? That's when the fun starts. It's funny how for some people a limitation is actually a joy. I would never jump out of an airplane unless, you know, I had no choice, but some people do that for fun. So, now what would assist you? What would help you be able?
The beliefs.
Beliefs? What would help you to be able to put in some curiosity, to put in some playfulness, to put in some comfort, to put in some tension, sexual tension?
Positive response.
What?
Some form of positive response.
Some form of positive response. So what would help you to get that ball rolling, get the ball moving? What's that?
For me, it's a sense of fun, just whatever.
What's that?
For me, it's a sense of fun.
A sense of fun? Yeah.
You don't care about the response. If I don't care about what he's going to say, if I start...
Ah, okay. If you don't care, but you do pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't care about the response, but you do pay attention to it and play with it, you have to pay attention to it. If you ignore it, then it doesn't go anywhere.
Why do you do it?
Okay, right, okay. So let's talk about this. So I'm going to pull this forward, and Doug, you tell me where the light is best. By the way, the room is substantially cooler now. Thank you, Malin. Don't stand in between Malin and her getting something done, because it's not a good idea. Okay, so let's talk about this. Personally speaking, when I play with my balls, what I like to do is, here's that ball we're going to be bouncing. We're going to put some balls up here and you can come up and fondle them. I'm tired, so I'm playing. I'd like to start off with something that, if possible, can create a sense of fun and playfulness, fun and play, and also evoke some curiosity in her, make her curious. These two are really good, you know, playfulness and fun and curiosity. These are really good ways to begin to engage someone's attention. Really good ways. Now, I want to avoid some words. We're going to unpack this. We're going to play. This is what I'll spend the rest of the evening on, right? And even tell you some word-for-word scenarios, and we'll play. But I want to avoid the following words. Walk up, approach, walk up, approach. People say, I have trouble doing, oh, this one. You ready? Ross, I have problems doing cold walk-ups. Ooh, it's ice cold. Oh, these are icicles. I flunked art school, fuck you. I have problems with cold walk-ups or cold approaches. Well, there's a bit of hypnosis right there. I'm going to do a cold approach. Think about it. I really, one of the things that I'm going to teach you to do is pay exquisite attention to how you use language. Right? A cold walk-up? What does that presuppose about the other person and the meaning of the experience? Right? You have to walk up to someone. First of all, the notion that you have to walk up to them, that may not be true. What if you're really interesting, they walk up to you? Or what if you're side by side? Or, you know, there's a million different possibilities. And putting the word cold in front of it, do you think that's a stupid metaphor? A useless metaphor? But people use it. Garbage in, garbage out. You've heard that expression? GIGO, right? It's not very smart. Cold walk-up? Yeah. So we're going to get rid of this idea. That's out. That metaphor is out. Instead, I prefer to start from a place of being grounded in my body and friendly with everyone. So we're going to do some exercises and some drills, and then we'll get to the rest of it. But the place upon which to stand. Remember I said, give me a place upon which to stand at a large enough lever and I'll move the world. I want to talk about that place to stand from, because what I've found, time and again, that works best is not to get into, okay, sometimes if you want to get into hunter mode, fine. But I find what works the best, especially if I don't feel like Sargent on a particular day, is to get into a state where I'm grounded in my body and I'm friendly with everyone and I validate everybody just a little tiny bit. When you validate people, I thought we're not supposed to validate people. No, actually, I had a student who had studied some very bad stuff, so he hung out with me and we were walking to this place in Venice Beach where there's a lot of women, a lot of foreigners, a lot of people from Deutschland and Denmark, and anyway. And we were walking by this housing area where they have a lot of old people, and this elderly lady dropped her bags, her groceries, and she said, look how clumsy and stupid I am. I said, you're not clumsy or stupid, you just dropped something. I drop things all the time, let me help you. I said, never think about yourself that way. You're exactly as you should be. And she smiled, she said, thank you. And after we walked away, he said, why were you nice to her? And I thought, this guy's a sociopath. And sure enough, he was. But he did introduce me to his smoking hot 22-year-old ex-girlfriend, whose moans you're going to hear later. Point being is that state of mind where you're giving everybody, I don't knock on the door and say, excuse me, can I validate you? But you're in a state where you're grounded in your body, actually in your body, feeling your feet on the ground, strong from here but relaxed in your upper body, and you're friendly with everybody. Then it's not like, oh, hot girl, better go from 0 to 100 right now. Do you understand? It's not even about approaching. It's about, I like to think in terms of magnetizing, drawing, engaging. Think about those words. Magnetizing, drawing, engaging. That's what you're going to do. You're going to go out and magnetize and draw and engage your world. And if in doing that you get some nice, juicy, hot woman to want to jump on you, great, you will. So let's start and I need a volunteer. So who's willing to come on stage? Yeah, you willing to be on camera? Sure. Yeah, come on. You've got nothing to lose. Have we met before?
No.
Okay. It's $20, I promised you, right? Will you do me a favor? Take that cap off. That's just absurd. Come on. How old are you?
22.
Oh, then put it back on. You're young, man. You can wear it. It would be absurd if I wore it, but don't ever wear it backwards. Jesus, why do people do that? Look at me in my H&M clothes and my socks. I'm giving fashion advice. Okay, so what we want to start with is teaching you, first of all, I'm not going to hurt you. Relax. Like, breathe. I will not hurt you. I'm not going to punch you. I will not humiliate you in a less than useful fashion. It'll be good, okay? All right, so relax. Do you need that? Are you warm in that jacket? Are you cool? Are you good?
Good, yeah.
You're good. All right. So I'm going to teach you something, and once you get this, you will never again worry about approaching women. Do you have this? I don't want to say have. Do you do approach anxiety? Do you experience it?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much.
Would you like to get rid of it simply, easily, naturally, forever?
Yes.
I don't believe your answer. So you can stand there until you convince me. I believe you. What's your name?
Hassan. Hassan.
Hassan. Where are you from?
Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Very good. Karachi?
Close enough.
Close enough. Okay. You don't work for the ISI, do you?
No.
Okay, I had to ask. My country listens to everything I say. They do.
Same here.
Huh?
Same here.
Yeah, but they're sucking up my phone calls and my emails and, geez, like, not that, I'm not going to get into it. I swear, I'm not going to talk politics. Mullen, if I talk politics, give me one of these. All right? Huh? Yes, ma'am. It may be my seminar, but sure as shit is Mullen's room. Okay, so look, here's what I want you to do. Take your shoes off. These Pakistanis, they do what they're told. No, you're doing a good thing. I asked him if he worked for his country's ISI, the intelligence service. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. First of all, what I want you to do is get a sense of your feet. I want you to feel your feet. You don't have to look to get a sense of it. You can look that way. But I want you to feel the weight of your feet pressing against the ground. Just be aware of that. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just naturally feel that your feet are pressing against the ground. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
And now what I want you to do is feel the ground pressing back up against your feet. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay? That's pretty simple, right? Now turn around and look at me. Okay, so far so good. So now I want you to feel your feet on the ground, right? And I just want you to, you know how to breathe from your belly? Just soften your belly. Breathe, I don't care if you breathe normally through your nose, your mouth, I don't care. But just breathe into the soft belly. So feel your feet on the ground and breathe a little bit from your belly. Now keeping your feet planted on the ground, I want you to loosen your upper body. Loosen your upper body, but keep your feet planted. Okay, so get really loose. Get spazzy loose, but don't move your hip. Keep your hips planted, right? You're doing good. Don't look down. If you look, then you don't get the feel. Right, so loosen your upper body. You can put your hands up here, but keep the feeling of your feet on the ground. You got that? Okay, drop your hands. So your upper body's loose. You're grounded in your feet. Now, here's the key. Do you know what your peripheral vision is?
Yeah.
There's the direct vision, and then there's out here. Mm-hmm. So defocus your vision. So you're sort of like out here. And now, you know what a shit-eating grin is?
What?
You know what a shit-eating grin is? You ever want to laugh at like a funeral or someplace where you know you shouldn't laugh, or you know an evil secret? Yeah, that kind of. So what I want you to do is put that little grin on your face. Keep your eyes defocused, grin, and feel that smile spread down into your feet. You got that? Okay, that's the state. From here, it's really hard to, now from that state, try to feel anxious and nervous. Huh?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. So, let's show you how it works again. So you feel your feet on the ground. Can you feel your feet on the ground? And just breathe a little bit into your belly. Loosen your upper body, but keep feeling your feet on the ground. Defocus your vision, right? Smile a little bit, and imagine that smile is moving down into your feet, the feeling of the smile. That's the place to sarge from. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Do you get it? Yeah. From there you can say anything. So, is there a woman who's willing to play with him? You don't have to be on camera if you don't want to, but let's test this out. Anyone willing to play? Off camera? No. People volunteer for themselves, Lawrence. It doesn't work that way. Huh? Okay, off the camera. Sorry, you had to